We are living in interesting times of lockdown and quarantine. This gives us time to think about certain questions about how this conundrum is going to affect our practice and what is the future of our dermatology practice is. Today, we are trying to explore some of those questions. And what better way to explore than to debate it? Because a debate provides a 360-degree view of a certain aspect of our lives. Before we start the debates, I want to state that we do not wish to settle these debates or these questions in any which favor. We wish to explore them and to begin conversations about them. Because a wise man once said, it's better to debate a question before settling it than to settle a question before debating it. Note, I would like to invite our first moderator, Dr. Rohit Batra sir, who is a senior consultant dermatologist at Sir Gangaram Hospital and Derma World Skin Clinics, and doesn't need any further introduction in my opinion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sumit. Thank you for organizing such a wonderful event and an event which is already seen people asking that, okay, this is the way future is when it comes to webinars. People were getting bored with the routine webinars, so why not debates? And why not the young Turks from dermatology who know about what future is? As Corona hit the world, people started watching Contagion. So they thought that, okay, this was there many years back. So maybe what we are debating today, whether it's AI, teledermatology, which is already here, will be the next big thing in future. So let's have both the perspective, whether people are looking forward to artificial intelligence in dermatology or they're afraid of it. We have two young dermatologists from Delhi, Dr. Deepak Jakhar, who we call him in Delhi as the research paper machine. He has 98 research papers to his credit, published papers. He's just too short of his 100, and maybe before we complete this debate, he will have a century also. And then we have Dr. Rashmi. She is into aesthetics and pediatric dermatology at Rainbow Hospital and has her own clinic in South Delhi area. So over to Deepak, who will be speaking for the motion today of artificial intelligence is the next revolution in dermatology. Let's hear you for the next 7 minutes. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, sir. I'm sharing the screen. A very good morning to all of you. So I'll be the opening batsman for these series of debates, and I'll be speaking about artificial intelligence, which in my opinion is the next revolution in dermatology. I have no conflict of interest and nothing to disclose. So I'd like to ask Dr. Rashmi, when was the last time you called a customer care executive and was greeted by a human voice? I think for the past 10 years, every time we call a customer care executive, we are only being greeted by the automated voices. And technology has changed so much so that now you can talk to your phone, Gmail can finish sentences for you, Netflix can recommend your favorite TV programs, and Google Maps can recommend you the estimated time of arrival even before you start your journey. Now, would you believe if I tell you the person right in front of you is a robotic news anchor in China, and China has been doing crazy things in these past few years. Automated cars are a reality now. MACD has already announced that its driveways will be governed by the AI operated softwares. Now, based on the drunkenness on your face, the next drink that you will be offered, the concentration of the alcohol will be determined by the software, determining the drunkenness on your face. And probably the next time you're going on for the shopping, you don't need to carry your wallet because the softwares can recognize your face and can send your bills to your home. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of artificial intelligence. And it is not just in the field of technological, automobile, and other fields, it is also there in the field of healthcare. In healthcare, we are seeing the developments in the form of medical imaging, data analysis, hospital administration, drug discovery, and even skin is not exempted from it. In the last year itself, 106 big startups have been there in the healthcare, which are utilizing artificial intelligence, making healthcare a better place. And medical imaging and diagnosis is one of them where our dermatology falls. Let's not leave the COVID-19, which we are facing right now. And this is the paper where we have published the current applications of artificial intelligence in the COVID-19. So where do you think was the first structure of this virus decoded? With which help? It was artificial intelligence. Who was forecasting the spread of this disease throughout the world? Artificial intelligence. And who do you think is telling you the live updates of number of cases, number of deaths, and number of recoveries? Again, it is artificial intelligence. And even in the development of the vaccine, which we all are eagerly waiting, the role of artificial intelligence is going to be substantial. So it's not a new thing. It has evolved from artificial intelligence, incorporated machine learning, and now it has reached up to the neural networks, which we call as the deep learning. So what is AI? So I'll not go into the technical terms. I'll just tell you that it is simply the incorporation of human intelligence into the machines. And how this is achieved is through the machine learning. What I mean by machine learning is that we are making these machines learn to take the decisions. And how they are taking the decisions is with these brains, which we call as the deep learning. So let us understand how a human and an artificial intelligence brain works. So whenever the new information is fed to your brain, it tries to compare it with the older memory. And when it is compared, it goes and labels and assigns categories to that new information. The concept is same with the machine learning as well. What is the difference then? You see, we have a dual process of thinking. We have an intuitive thinking, and then we have an analytical reasoning. When it comes to the machines, it is only the analytical reasoning. And this, I think, is the part of the reasoning or the thinking that we should be exploiting in the near future for our betterment and for betterment of the healthcare. How this can be done is with the good training of these machines. Now, this is the brain. I won't go into the technical details. If you want, you can read this article about the technical details of artificial intelligence from this paper. Now, before I start the applications in dermatology, I just want you to leave behind your sci-fi fantasies behind. No, these machines are not here to kill you. These are not just robots. These are sophisticated algorithms which are helping in our health. These are just assisting you, whatever you have learned from your books, whatever you have learned from your experiences. So coming to the application, and the first one, I am sure a lot of us would be using, even Dr. Rashmi would be using a clinical software for booking the appointments, scheduling appointments, automating the appointments, the digital prescription, comparing the pre and the post photographs of the patients, and most important, generating an efficient invoicing. Now coming to the mobile-based softwares, I know a lot of us hates these mobile-based softwares, and the reason is quite obvious. We can do it on our own. Why do we need a mobile-based softwares? But we had to start from somewhere to reach to a particular milestone. So we started with skin cancer diagnosis. Now we have moved towards acne grading and the common conditions like eczema and psoriasis. And once we have accomplished these goals, now we have moved towards the deep learning based algorithms and the applications where we are generating sophisticated network algorithms to assist in the diagnosis of complicated diseases like the skin cancers, the melanoma. And this is something which is the future, not the mobile-based softwares. Probable applications, I would say that protein identification, a lot of genetic disorders in dermatology are still without the treatment. So probably by the identification of the protein, we might offer them a treatment. Drug development, of course, remains a major area for the application of artificial intelligence, and identifying patterns of disease development. Imagine if I tell you a patient of psoriasis, if I can tell you what is the probability of developing cardiovascular risk factors in this patient 5 years in advance, that will do wonder for that patient. And it's not just clinical dermatology, it's there in the aesthetics as well, in the form of physical and the virtual applications. I leave behind the physical applications because these are in the form of these automated devices, and we have all been using in the form of lasers and various other devices. And they have been improving the day, every day that passes. Now, this is something very important, which is in development, and this is called as a robotic arm. The probable applications would be in the form of wherever the automation is needed. Let's say like in case of a micro needling. So this is the in the development phase. It is not being tested, and probably within the next 5 years, we will get to know what is the utility of this robotic arm as well. The major applications as of now of AI is in the virtual applications. And when I say virtual applications, I want to say certain softwares which can assist you in your aesthetic practice. Just imagine clicking 3 pictures of your patient, giving a 3D image, telling you how your patient is going to age, identifying these fine lines, identifying the areas where sagging is going to be there, identifying the areas where rejuvenation is needed, and probably you can help Thor from becoming Uncle Thor. Probably you can delay that process by identifying these lines. You can identify the fine lines. You can go ahead and identify the various areas where the toning is needed, what all area requires what sort of parameters when you're dealing with the lasers or probably the rejuvenating procedures. So you can identify them with the procedures. You can target that particular areas and probably can give more to your patient than what you already are giving. Drug development.
Dr. Jakar, you have 1 minute.
Yes, sir. I'm about to complete. So drug development again is a major factor that is going to be there. You see, not all of us require ceramides in our moisturizers. Only few of us require, but we don't know who is going to require. So that is going to require artificial intelligence to decode the patients who are requiring what sort of moisturizer. And I'm just giving you an example of moisturizer. It is going to come in almost all sort of topical medications that we use in our patients. People have already started questioning this thing. Is it the beginning of the end? Will AI replace doctors? I think this question is too soon to be asked. Why? Because in my opinion, artificial intelligence is still a baby. It has not even learned how to walk, and we are already judging it for falling again and again. We are already expecting it to run. It is not possible, and I think it is slightly not good to judge AI as of now because it is in its initial stage. Let's take the first step, because we all are on the first step. Nobody has climbed the stair till now. Nobody knows what is over the horizon at the last end of the stair. But if we don't take the first step itself, how we are going to judge this wonderful application, which can have wonderful applications in our clinical practice? As of now, I would say no one knows how AI is going to unreveal itself. No one is mastering AI. For me, I think AI is like a teenage sex. Everyone is talking about it. No one knows how to do it. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing it. And so everyone again is claiming that they are doing it. Now, why do we hate these smartphone apps? Because I can diagnose this molluscum in my sleeping mode. I don't need a software for this. But definitely, if I improve these smartphone applications into deep algorithm applications, I am sure, Dr. Rashmi, this picture can give you useful clues whether it's a benign, malignant, or a pre-malignant lesion. Now, based on just my experience, it is probably impossible for almost all of us to diagnose what exactly is this. But what if I give you a clue that in a click of a button, you will get an opinion of 1,000 other dermatologists in the form of AI to help you diagnose this particular lesion. So my take-home message as of now is that stay updated about AI, be dynamic rather than static, and the future is definitely bright. Being human is the way forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jakar. Thank you for a great insight into AI. And now let's have Dr. Rashmi Sharma, who will be speaking against the motion today. I think she's not convinced, and let's see why she is not convinced.
So I'll share my slides. Hi, everyone. Welcome you to the debate on artificial intelligence, the next revolution in dermatology. I think my opening batsman is batting way too much for artificial intelligence, which I'm really not convinced. Artificial intelligence, the work started in 1950s, processed to machine learning, Siri and Alexa, which is every smart home beauty is very much in use. Coming to deep learning, which is based upon deep neural network, somewhat similar to our brain, but it has so much of mathematical transformation of CNN, 2D convolution, pooling, element-wise non-linearities, and normalization. How much do we know about it? I don't know, maybe Dr. Deepak is well versed in all this. These are the various types of artificial intelligence: machine learning, natural language process, expert system, vision, speech, planning, and robotics. Alexa is at everybody's house and it can perform 10,000 skills. Siri, speech interpretation and recognition interface, which is Apple's child, Coming to Google Nest, which is an artificial intelligence-based thermostat mechanism, which can set your house temperature depending upon the AI algorithm, depending upon the members are present or absent. Artificial intelligence is very much in algorithmic trading and share market. Netflix knows how many members are there in your house, who is the youngest member, who is the eldest member, what is your taste, what do you watch with your wife, and what do you watch when your wife goes away. It is collecting so much of data, which is dreadful to me, and without taking our consent. YouTube knows what do you like. Siri, Alexa, Cortana, I already spoke about. Automobiles, Tesla, which looks so fancy. I'll also talk about the scandals which it made. AI is transforming manufacturing. Traditional factories, smart factories, AI-driven factories are already coming up. This beautiful lady is Cortana, which is a Microsoft-based virtual assistant. Meet Sophia, who is first AI resident based in Saudi Arabia. She has 142K followers on Instagram. And coming to the next, computer-generated imaging, Mikila, who has about 2.4 million followers. So people seem to be liking her. This is the first sex AI robo, Harmony, with whom you can engage into comforting communication companion. So AI is everywhere. It can act and think like human. But why do you want to replace yourself? It can read fast, agreed. But why are you running so fast, Dr. Deepak? Even in the era of COVID, you did not learn to walk slow. Now I'll give you some weirder insights of AI. So this is a paper which was published in 2016 when a dog with eyes and nose and snout was misdiagnosed and somebody's AI diagnosed it as a wolf. What went wrong? Because apparently this AI algorithm was used to seeing wolf image in the background of a snow. So the dog was identified as a wolf. This fish was not identified on the basis of the eyes and the scales and the gills. It was identified on the basis of human fingers, which it was used to be holding because it is a staunch fish. Coming to an AI-based faulty algorithm failure in 2016, very much in news, when Tesla, which is an auto-driven car, went up the road, which was trained on highway, was made to walk on a normal route, and it failed to brake when a truck came right from the front. Why? Because it was used to see the trucks from the sides and not from the front, and it misread this as a notice board. Coming to natural language processing, Anna Hathaway, which very much in news, because of her name, the share prices of a similar name, Drive Berkshire Hathaway, went up because of AI chatbots picked it up. Now, Google 4,000 employees, they only were against AI in the system. Amazon recently had a crash in the HR recruiting system because apparently the resume which had woman's name was auto-rejected. Now I'm coming to dermatology insight. This is a Cochrane library in study of the smartphone application for triaging adult with skin lesion and suspicious for melanoma. Coming to the test failure, it had 3 to 31 or 2 to 18% lesion failure. Highest rate of test failure was 15%. At least one melanoma was unclassified as unevaluable in 3 out of 4 applications. These are the various specificity and sensitivity based off the Cochrane study. It was not sufficient in terms of accuracy, high missing out on melanoma, not able to draw any implication. Coming to systemic review of a machine learning, which analyzed 2,175 papers, and the author concluded head-to-head comparison proved difficult, and there are many gray areas in dermatology, which still, I don't know how much can an AI algorithm replace somebody's empathy. So I want you to imagine, Dr. Deepak, if a patient comes to you who has solar lentigo and your AI algorithm or somebody's AI algorithm misdiagnosed it as melanoma, the news is broken to the family member, he's already not okay, the whole family is mourning, grandfather started reading the newspaper, everyone is crying and he's already hanged to death. Do you want your patient to metaphorically represent that dog in the picture, which was misidentified in the wolf? At least my conscience doesn't allow me at present. So now coming to some identified barriers in AI. What is the choice of predictive model, which you don't know anything about? A little bit change in the algorithm can take you somewhere else. Generalizability, all these studies are happening in West and East Asia, where the population, we are collecting all of the wide data. If that algorithm is made to work in India, I think because of lack in the pigmentous population representation, it will have a faulty accuracy. System bias, not anyone else, but Senior Vice President, Chief Data Scientist said nearly all data has bias. If you eliminate one, you reduce another one. Standardization is a question. How will you take care of the picture, angle, zoom, light, background? There's so much to it. Data requirement is so huge. The worldwide collaboration is needed, and every healthcare and every segment needs to represent their data. Will you be able to do it? Interpretability, which comes with a black box warning. Acceptance doesn't exist. Liability is a huge problem. Coming to quackery, we are not able to solve it. We'll not be able to fix it. We will rather promote it. Equity, model confidence calibration, artificial AI system, when it was seen that confidence was matched with the accuracy, it seemed to be overconfident about its calibration. It was 90% confident and matched the accuracy only 50%. I'm happy to be underconfident. It has so much of publication bias, literature gap. There are very small number of systemic review presently available. There's no technological validation, clinical experimentation needed, and there is algorithmic justice league. How will you solve that? Data theft, which is the biggest theft today. Who does not know about the 87 million Facebook users Cambridge Analytica case where the data was collected through Facebook and it was sold for political campaign? How will you keep a check on that? At least I can't let that happen. I can't think of that being happening to the healthcare. Data is the biggest thing. It's not money today. Tendency for systemic bias has numerous applications in the dermatology. How will you take care of all this ethnicity? Privacy rights, terms and conditions, data collected without our knowledge. Before shaking up hands with AI, it comes with a lot of unhealthy skepticism, which I want to really pay interest to. Economic.
You've got 1 minute, Dr. Rashmi.
Yes, sir. Economic incentive of AI is so huge to embrace human, it will be anything beyond we all have seen. I have read so many articles on AI, which has just one doctor writer just to give him data. That's it. Do you want yourself to be replaced by that? Someday, I'm sorry to say, but your AI will diagnose your cancer and robot will perform a surgery on you. I don't know how comfortable you are with the fact. I am not comfortable with it today. I'm okay with AI flowering my plant, giving me burgers, giving me coffee shakes, farming for me, giving me receipt at the entry of the hospital. But look at the dreadful effect of AI. The AI army is ready. Chinese, after giving COVID, they are not only stuck there, they're already tracking emotions of their citizens and doing filtration of the society on the basis of AI. AI machinery is already there. There's a long way to go for machines to turn into virtual human. Right now is the time we have to demand for a lot of aspects in AI before shaking up hands so happily with the AI. Everything is not black and white, Dr. Deepak. Don't be so stuck in the world of binary field. Confront your fear, paradise, don't be blind. I know it's a baby, but when a baby is there at home, you try to teach good values to it. You try to make sure that it's trained in the right figure. Whereas in AI, we are just so fascinated that we forgot to take care of our baby. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rashmi. Thank you for your point of view. And Dr. Deepak, you have 1 minute to rebut Dr. Rashmi. If you have something more to add to what you presented, otherwise we'll go on to the audience questions. Your 1 minute starts now.
Yeah, so I'll just take 1 minute to just give you take you to the history and explain how technology improves itself. You remember when calculators were being developed in the initial phase, they were doing a lot of difficult calculation, subtraction, multiplication. And there was a time when people were actually in the favor of removing these calculators from the calculating industry. What happened? The people behind these calculators actually saw the opportunity to improve these calculators. And we all agree to the fact today that no human brain is better than a calculator in calculating addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. They are to the best equal to a calculator. So where we have reached from a calculator, there was an opportunity where we could have just discarded it, but we didn't take that opportunity. We took the opportunity of improving it, and we reached to a stage where we are dealing with some supercomputers. And what has supercomputers done? It has 25 years back. I'll just give you a simple example. 25 years back, supercomputer beat the world's #1 chess champion. Has chess gone out of the picture? No, we are still playing the chess. It has only improved the way we are playing the chess. It has only improved our understanding of these chess game. And it has only improved and it has made the chess faster in the current scenario. You see, human touch, human charm is never going to go away with these machines. It is only there to assist you. Human brain has always been designed to think new, to innovate new. It was never meant to store the information. Let's give some part of these baggage which we are carrying on our shoulders. It's a huge baggage. You see, I read a paper today and 10 new papers are coming. How is it impossible? How is it possible for a human being to keep a track of that knowledge? I don't say the AI replaces humans. I say we walk together and probably we are going to walk faster, and probably we are going to give more towards our people. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak. Yes, Dr. Rashmi, 1 minute, and then we take the audience questions.
I want to ask Dr. Deepak, he's not speaking about the technological regulations and rules which are not set up till now. Nobody's even talking about it. Even when you download like any voice recorder on your mobile right now, it wants to access your pictures, camera, contacts, but why is there no rules and regulation? Why are we failing on that? I am not so much against AI, but I have so much of unhealthy skepticism associated that I want everyone to address to and to think about it. Research, how will you make sure the drug battle? What if a psoriasis patient is over the years with the AI system is directly directed towards a biological? When you don't understand of so much of technical aspects, how will we make sure that does happen? So right now is the time, before providing data and before getting so much into it, we must take the charge of it. We must start taking authority of him and take a stand. Alone, we are not enough, but if we stand together, we can take a big step. Also, how will you take care of you said that two feelings are the intuitive and intuitive figure is not being spoken about. The gut feeling, which we have sometime about a particular disease, about so many extra aspects which a patient has. The artificial intelligence is not going to take care of that into account. And last, not the least, how to take care of the pharma company battle and the drug battle.
Thank you, Dr. Rashmi. Well, one thing you said that takes today's debate in favor of Dr. Deepak is, I am not as against as AI. So you in your hearts also know that AI is here to stay.
No. You got
you said that. That.
I'm not against AI is flaring my point. I'm against AI in healthcare.
Yeah, no.
Parts of AI, general AI and narrow AI. I'm against
yes,
narrow
even
AI.
in your presentation, it's everyone here. I'm not giving a judgment, but then we have seen both the presentation. More than 500 viewers witnessed what both of you said, presented, and you in your presentation also showed where AI is doing good, be it agriculture, be it at the entry of the hospital, but you don't want the AI to enter the hospital. Okay, so that is there. It is there. We have to see, we have to take everything as it comes. And as Dr. Deepak pointed out, at 25 years back, supercomputer was there, and we are seeing that everything is being done. We never imagined that we can do banking sitting at home. Today we can do. We never imagined that we will be having webinars just like this. We can have conferences at the ease of our home, where you just need to wear a tie and a shirt, and whether you are wearing a pant, trousers, or shorts, no one comes to know. You are at ease. So it makes things easier. I remember once Salman Khan was asked about AI, and that nowadays one of his friends asked him, see, this is a gadget. When I board the flight, I ask it that, okay, I want this for dinner. When I reach Mumbai, it makes sure that the AC is switched on. When I reach home, the garage is open. So that's a very good thing. That's the future. And Salman Khan just told him, what's the need for this? He just calls a number and say, Sahib, ye kar do, ye kar do, ye kar do, ye kar do. But not everyone is Salman Khan. Not everyone can have such a maid and so many drivers and other people at home. So maybe in future, if you have AI, as Alexa can order food for you, maybe, and even vacuum cleaner that is available at our place has given off, so that even Dr. Rashmi, if doesn't have any maid during the lockdown, can use a vacuum cleaner than using a broom at home. So maybe AI also in the future can give us benefits in healthcare also. But I am not going full in favor of what Dr. Deepak said. And there are things that Dr. Rashmi pointed out, that, okay, data is being stolen. You don't know how things are being done, whether they will be doing the right medicine or not. Things can go wrong in rare scenarios. Coming on to the questions, Dr. Rachna from Delhi is asking, our digital prescription is the database for future AI prescription. This can replace the need of doctor, hence make use of advanced technology or go the old way. I think Dr. Rashmi has answered that, she is still skeptical about going with the AI and she prefers the old way. Dr. Deepak, you want to add something to that question?
I think most of the softwares that we are using, they are utilizing AI for digital prescription. I do agree that whenever we are signing up with these softwares, we tend to ignore the license agreement that they ask us. It is so huge. It actually gives you everything. It is just that we are at the fault. We are just skipping it. We are just agreeing to it. They are giving you everything that they are going to utilize the data. Of course, they are using your data to improve their own software. And that is how, of course, the economic model has to work. So we are already aware that these things are happening. But we have to just see whether they are for the betterment or whether they are doing the harm only. So these things are happening, definitely.
Okay. One of our candid friends, Dr. Ashish Pimpli from Nagpur, is asking, you fight or for or against change is the only constant in life. AI will progress. No one can stop that. Let's try to look at the pros and try to overcome its cons. Dr. Prasad from Vizag is saying that AI improves as the number of inputs increase, as the usage increases, efficiency increases. This is a thought. How relevant is this? Dr. Deepak.
So I think this is very relevant, as Dr. Rashmi has said, that she agrees to being it utilized in agriculture, technology, automobile. It is going to be a comprehensive development. You cannot expect AI to develop in one field and then you are skeptical about it being in your own field. So healthcare also is going to develop with other fields. So if we are having technological advancement in automobile or in the mobile sector or in any other software, of course, we'll be at loss if we are not utilizing that technology to our own benefit. So we have to improve it, and that is the way forward.
Okay. Dr. Madhulika Matre from Mumbai is asking implications of misdiagnosis by AI. Dr. Rashmi.
I already gave the example of dog wolf, because your patient will metaphorically represent that dog being misdiagnosed as if something is not a cancerous lesion, you diagnose it as cancer, and there will be so many unnecessary surgery happening. And who will hold accountability for that? Right now we have medical negligence, but when AI, hold on, Dr. Deepak.
No,
right now we have medical.
No, this is your question. Yeah. Take your time.
No, he's pointing finger at me. I'm against it.
Okay. No, Deepak, no pointing of fingers. Where is Ashmeet? Yes.
So how will you take, I forgot my point. How will you take care of and control all the rules and regulations that I'm really against?
Okay. So Dr. Rajiv from Aligarh is saying, you saw new seeds of AI failed in the farmland, but you cannot bring back life to a human if the AI commits a mistake in judgment regarding diagnosis and or treatment. He is favoring Dr. Rashmi. Dr.
Exactly.
Vivek Pandey from Nagpur is saying, to what extent AI will be foolproof? Yes, Dr. Rashmi.
We don't have any knowledge about it. There is no regulation at present, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Dr. Prasad from Vizag is again asking, future of MBBS post-graduation and surgical techniques. Is the AI the future? Yes, Dr. Rashmi.
I don't know about it, but what is the how are you training the younger generation? I see our curriculum and courses getting bigger and fatter. Why are we not training AI to our new generation when it is so much of buzz around it? I think we'll take ages before AI will actually, we will start even thinking about it, and it will take hold of all of us and replace us.
Okay. Dr. Bharat Bhushan from Gorakhpur is asking, is there any smartphone app for dermatology? Please name. Yes, Dr. Rashmi.
Derm app is there. And there are many.
And there are many apps. Okay. So you know that they are there. You have seen them. You have used them?
Yeah, I've used them and misdiagnosed just to check.
So maybe, and are you in favor of entering your data that, okay, you misdiagnosed, so this should be done? You are helping them?
If I have a good accountability of my data that will not undergo any theft, then I am okay with it.
Okay. How about if someone asks you that they are coming up with a project of AI in dermatology and they require data, say for psoriasis and other things, will you help them?
Is it also part of the debate to answer it compulsorily, sir?
No.
I opt not to.
I'll give that answer.
Okay.
3 days back only, we have published a paper of nail fold capilloscopy in diabetes this year only. And 3 days back only, Dr. Chandra Grover is the corresponding author for that. So she received a mail from an engineering student from Bangalore, and he wanted our data to improve his own AI-enabled software for the diagnosis of diabetes. So what he was offering was just an acknowledgement that he would be using our data. Now we straight away said no, because see, we want to be a stakeholder in whatever you are developing. In whatever you are developing, we want to be a part of the protocol that you are developing for the formation of such software. So if we are not a part of that protocol, we are straight away going to say no, because then we will be just spectators and not stakeholders.
Okay. Dr. Ashwajit from Ludhiana is asking, radiology will be the first branch to see AI taking over. Dr. Deepak Vora from New Delhi is saying that AI needs to be intelligently incorporated in healthcare with caution and should not and cannot be relied upon as the sole provider. So one of Dr. Rashmi's neighbor is also thinking the same way as Dr. Rashmi. Dr. Nivedita from Chennai is, on which part of dermatology would you trust the use of AI the most? Dr. Deepak.
I think image-based analysis would be the first one, because
then Dr. Rashmi said that she misdiagnosed. So that means that they are
let us be fair with each other. We also misdiagnose quite a lot. So I would just like to ask.
I'll come to you, Dr. Rashmi. I'll come to you. Yes.
Ask just one simple question, Dr. Rashmi.
We also misdiagnosed. Yes, that's the truth.
I just have one question for Dr. Rashmi. Suppose she has a mole on her cheek. Now, will she consult Dr. Rohit or will she consult Dr. Deepak? Who will she consult?
I'm enough for myself. Why will I go to you or Dr. Rohit?
Suppose you want a second opinion. Who will you go to, Dr. Rohit or Dr. Me?
Depends who stays closer to my house.
Exactly. So that is one of the factors, but experience also matters. So with experience, I think these algorithms are going to be improved, and they are going to be an assistant to you. So that, and for them to be assistant.
Yes. That's where I guess the common ground we can, at present, the common ground is we can help AI to assist us, but not
till it replaces us.
It is never going to replace us. As I've already said, human touch and human charm is never going to go away.
That me and you will not be debating. Maybe robots someday will find out the answers.
Okay, Dr. Sunita. Okay, please don't fight. Please don't fight. Dr. V.K. Chawla from Bareilly is saying robotic surgery has come up in a big way and is very popular. That's truth. Dr. Ashish Pimpli is saying AI is not replacement for humans. AI will be the aid for human doctors. So he is coming to your rescue, Dr. Rashmi, and he is telling you, and we also are of the opinion that on the level playing field, AI can assist us and not replace us. Dr. Rajiv from Aligarh is saying, are we doing research not for improving treatment outcomes? Is financial gains and fame only aim for research and publications? Yes, Dr. Rashmi.
Sorry, sir, I missed a question. I'm so sorry.
Dr. Rajiv from Aligarh is saying, are we doing research not for improving treatment outcomes? Is financial gains and fame only aim for research and publication?
See, it's a double-edged question. Of course, financial gain is also there. We all know about it. But research should be limited to the patient-based improvement of the study, improvement of the case, and improvement of the disease outcome.
Okay. Dr. Rashmi, again finding support from Dr. Preeti Savardekar. Sorry if I misspelled. I am with Dr. Rashmi. My patients love my counseling and empathy. No machine can give that. So yes, Dr. Deepak, that counseling part, that empathy that a dermatologist can give you, and AI cannot. So there are few good things that, of course, AI is there. It's coming up in a big way. That's the future. But whether the future comes in 5 years, that is acceptable to a dermatologist, or 10 years, or maybe more. But then there are many loopholes. Dr. Prasad from Vizag, who would the patient trust given? The increased Googling AI, maybe the next step for them. How should we deal? Dr. Rashmi, this is the last question for the day, and then we'll close.
We already are fighting battle against Google. How many of you have not encountered a patient working with a Google diagnosis and questioning your diagnosis? At least it's happened with me. It has happened with me many times. And I'm sure it must be happening with each one of you also. AI will be like even a bigger part of Google. Why do you want to entertain that? Aren't you sufficient enough?
Do we have an option, Dr. Rashmi? And you have to answer that question.
So I'm talking about a hypothetical situation. We don't even know what the future will unfold.
See, I don't encourage or I don't use AI. Okay. Dr. Deepak's talk was something that many things I came to know for the first time also. But then I also know that there are apps in dermatology that use AI. There are others who are making apps, and even doctors from India, doctors from a premier institute in India are also involved in making an app. Okay, so sooner or later the apps will be there, are there, and our patients will be using it if it is open for patients. So what I personally feel is it should be there to assist a dermatologist if we want a second opinion. Like today, if I send one of my patients who I myself want a second opinion to a professor at a premier institute, then maybe I can, just like we use our dermatoscope, we can use an AI based app to see that, okay, are we going the right way or not? If this I think is pemphigus, it is pemphigus or DH or pemphigoid. So would you agree on that, that way it can help us?
To agree
The
with it,
debate is over. The debate is over. The debate is
Okay.
over. I'm not for or against. I'm just asking the question.
yeah, I would like to be open for that.
Yes. So till that thing is concerned, we are
But
fine.
there is a
as
question mark
dermatologists.
associated. But there's a question mark with it, sir.
Yes, yes, I am with you. I am with you. Don't think that I am taking the trophy towards Deepak. There is no trophy. It's a healthy discussion. And
Deepak is my friend. Of course, it's a healthy discussion.
yes, we all are friends. We all are friends.
Questions that she has raised. They are all.
Yes. So that's what I agree, that technology should be there to assist the dermatologist and not replace the dermatologist, first thing. And if this technology is available, being made, it should be made available exclusively for the dermatologist and not for the common man. Just like on Google, you can search. So if you give these apps to AI, God save India, because we are already having so much of menace as far as tinea is concerned, steroid misuse is concerned. People will start using all the medication because in India there are no rules. You can go to your chemist and get all the medications you want. So if AI comes for a common man to make a diagnosis and treat, then we are heading for a big disaster. So thank you, Dr. Deepak. Thank you, Dr. Rashmi, for giving insights into AI, of telling us what's the future, how it can help us, if they take a wrong turn, where it can lead us to. And thank you, Dr. Sumit, for organizing this. I also thank our educational partner for the day, Maurice Pharmaceuticals, for giving us this opportunity for organizing this event and taking care of the logistics. Thank you. This is your moderator, Dr. Rohit Batra, signing off from Delhi. Thank you once again, Dr. Deepak, Dr. Rashmi, and over to you, Sumit, again. Bye-bye.